I enjoy serving God, and that's what this YouTube video is going to be about. It's going to be a different type of experience from other YouTubes because it's mostly on spiritual advice, um, serving God, different things like that. So let's get started. Today, um, the subject is going to be about knowing the shepherd. The scripture is going to be coming from John chapter 10. And I'm reading from the King James Version. So, John chapter 10, verse 15 says, "As the Father knoweth me, even so I the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. And the other sheep I have, which are not of this fold, them also I must bring, and they shall hear my voice, and shall be one fold and one shepherd. Therefore doth my Father love me, because I lay down my life, that I might take it again." And I'm going to go up a little bit further. And it says, "I am the good shepherd, and know my sheep, and am known of mine." That's going to be a very, very, very important verse, and I'm going to read it again. John chapter 10, verse 14. Jesus was saying, "I am the good shepherd, and know my sheep, and am known of mine." So the reason that I'm talking about this is because I feel like personally we get very caught up in life experiences, people, that we forget that God is the shepherd and we are the sheep. We began to, well, I can speak for myself personally, it's very easy to idolize people so much, and God is not pleased with that. Growing up, I've always been the type of person that was like naturally good at everything. Like I was always good at singing, remembering speeches, just getting ahead. Like when I was in kindergarten, I remember when the other kids would be taking their nap, and I would beg my kindergarten teacher to be up studying my numbers. Like it was crazy. So I've always been like that, and it's been good, but it's also been bad. I didn't realize it at first, but eventually I began to live a life that was pleasing to other people. Like, man slowly began to direct my life and bring about this false sense of perfection, this level of perfection that I needed to reach. And I always had to be the leader. I was always the one who could never have a bad day. I could never make a mistake because I was held to such a high standard by people. And slowly I began to idolize the level of perfection that people wanted for me. It slowly became a thing of from what God wanted to what people wanted. And obviously, I got lost. When I was 15, I gave my life to God. I got baptized. I got saved. It was just great. Like, that was great for me. That was the best decision I ever made. And 2 months after I got saved, I turned 16. And 2 months after I turned 16, I began ministry. I gave my first sermon. And that was really big because I did not know that that would be part of the plan for my life. I mean, I didn't know that that was something that I would be catapulted into so soon, so suddenly. But, I was in Bible study every week, like at least 3 times a week, always at Sunday school, always at church, and I had people, that were teaching me the word. So it's not that surprising, but it just wasn't something that I expected. And from that point on, I was falling more and more and more in love with God. Like, he was doing some miraculous things, and I began to know him personally for who he was, the shepherd. And the word clearly says that, you know, the sheep will know the shepherd. And I believe that to be true. I believe that with my whole heart, because if you are spending time with God in his word and praying and fasting and just seeking him with your whole heart, you're going to find him. If there's something that you're looking for, whether it be an answer, elevation, is going to happen. Because when we're faithful to God, he's faithful to us. And it started off really good, and then it just went really downhill for me because of the level of perfection that people saw from me. Um, like I said, I couldn't do any wrong, couldn't have a bad day. I essentially became this robot, this this robot, and I was bound. And I know you probably can say, like, how can you be saved and feel bound? But that's what happens when you begin to idolize man. Once you forget who the shepherd is, then you're gonna become bound. Like, I was so deep in it, and into chains where, like, normal people have emotions. Like, normal people cry, and normal people feel happy, and normal people feel sad, but I wasn't able to do that. And it's just weird because when you're in the presence of God and you're worshiping and you're showing reverence and adoration, it's almost impossible not to cry. And for me personally, I was feeling ashamed to do those things, to lift my hands, to give God praise, when that was what I was created for. In the beginning, that was never a problem, but slowly, when I began to think about what people felt about me and the plans that people have for my life, that's what happened. I became lost because I was idolizing man, and it gets really sad when you get to that point because God is not pleased. Um, God is just not pleased with that because he's jealous. That's one thing that you must never forget. He's jealous for you. There's only one living God. And when you put other things ahead of God, that's when things are going to go bad. Um, the thing about it is, I didn't really know how deep I was in it until I was really deep in it. Like, it became to the point where it's like I was crying out for help, but nobody could help me because nobody knew how to help me. I had to get to that place in God where I was able to be honest with him. Let him know, like, I'm sorry that I even let it get this bad because I wasn't being led by him. Like, honestly, I wasn't being led by him. I was being led by the false intentions of pleasing the world. And what does it profit a man? It didn't profit me anything because I was still unhappy. Even though I was able to get up and be this shining star in front of a lot of different people, when I went home at night, I was still unhappy. I was still upset. I was still depressed. I was still bound. Nothing changed because of the fact that I wasn't living how God wanted me to live. I was living how people wanted me to live. And that's what this YouTube is about. This YouTube video is to persuade you, if you're going through this, to let you know that, number one, you can make it through. You can get out. You can get back to serving God and the right way. And to let you know that it's okay to be honest with yourself, that you idolize something. Now, for me, I idolize people and their directions and plans for my life. And it was wrong because, number one, people didn't create me. God created me, and only He knows my heart. He knew me before I was even formed. He said that He knows the plans that He has for me. And not me, not my family, not my friends, not people at church, nobody, just Him. And the thing about it is, I want you to understand that only God is the shepherd. There can only be one. And whatever happens outside of that is not, it's not real. Um, the thing about it is, I didn't realize, like, sometimes I still get shocked because it's like, I didn't realize, like, the whole time that I was living a fake life. I didn't realize it until God had to really reveal it to me. God had to put me in position to where I couldn't do anything else until I acknowledged my problem. Now, some you might be saying, "Okay, I don't have that problem. I don't let people run my life. I don't idolize people." And that could be true. I'm happy that you don't. But there are other ways to idolize different things. Like, for example, um, maybe it's music or celebrities. Some people idolize people because of the fact that they might be of a higher standard or a higher ranking. God is not pleased with that. Some people idolize makeup and like fashion, and that's not good either because that can become your God once you let it exalt who God is to you. And some people idolize school and a career. And God is not pleased with that either because nothing should be able to take his place. You know, that's one thing that we must realize as people. When you're serving God, He has to be the only one. Some people say, I want balance in my life. But when it comes to like a balance being, and this is God and this is something else, it should never be like this. There should never be balance. God should always be here, and everything else in your life should always be here because God is not calling for balance. He wants to be first in your life. He won't settle for anything less than that. And I just want to persuade you today to give all of you to God because it'll be so much easier in the long run. It will be so much better for you in the long run. Commit yourself to really know who He is, to know the voice of the shepherd, because once you get to that place of where you have other things in your life, you're going to get confused by the different voices, by demons, by the devil, by your family, by your friends, by the things that you idolize. So it's important to know the shepherd. And I also encourage you to read the rest of the 10th chapter of John. It's really great. And yeah, so that's all for my first video. Thank you guys for watching. There will be more videos coming whenever the Lord leads me to do so. And yeah, God bless you guys.